Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Elevating HR with Mineral webinar. My name is Ling, and I'm the Membership Director with California Association of Nonprofits, CalNonprofits for short. We're so glad to have you join us this morning. Mineral is one of our most popular member benefit, and this webinar will cover all the tools that Mineral offer to users. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A box. We'll send out the recording of this webinar within this week. And next, I would like to introduce Holly Rose, the Customer Success Manager at Mineral, and our presenters for today. Take it away, Holly.
Thank you so much. And a big thank you to CalNonprofits for putting this together for all of their members and those that are viewing in today to see the wonderful services of Mineral. As Ling said, my name is Holly Rouse. I'm a customer success manager at Mineral, and my goal is to get everybody really familiar and pretty educated on all of the resources you have and how to navigate them. So we're going to go through those pieces one at a time. But as you're seeing on the screen right now, this is what it looks like when you've logged into your Mineral account. If you don't currently have access, I would reach out to Ling and her team, and they can obviously answer questions and get the appropriate access set up. So once you're logged in, you'll see across the top, underneath your CalNonprofits Insurance Services logo, you have a white navigation toolbar banner, and we're going to talk about what each of these individual items are and what's within them. But for the start, we're going to really focus and hone in on My Dashboard. This is going to be right as you log in, right on the main part of your page. And everybody's is going to look a little different. You're seeing mine. The first thing I want to talk about is its access to contact HR dedicated experts with Mineral. So if you want that at the top of your dashboard, you can actually click this little wheel on the right-hand side. It says configure, and you can drop and drag how you want your dashboard laid out. So that way you can have a little customization with obviously the things you use the most at the top of your dashboard. And that's what I did, is I drop and dragged my experts to the top. And that's the first thing I'm going to show and talk about today. So this is really what previously known as Mineral, we were known as Think HR, and what we were founded on. So you have that ability to contact the HR certified experts. They're PHR, SHRM, and HRCI accredited advisors. They have a decade minimum of experience in order to even be hired with Mineral. And then we actually recently did a survey with all of our HR experts. They have an average of 18 years between them, and many with a lot more years in specialty backgrounds. So the goal of this is now you have a way to call or submit questions to those dedicated professionals that are there waiting for you. There's no cost associated with how often you want to reach out to them. Like I said, you can use that phone number here on your screen. It'll give you the time zones available. So if you're contacting from Pacific time, they're available 12 hours a day, 5 days a week from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. And then that phone number right there that you can call. Now, this isn't a Cal Chambers where you're going to call, you're going to leave a voicemail, and you're going to wait a week for somebody to call you back. This is you're going to get in touch with a live individual, and they're going to make sure that you get in touch from there with the best associated advisor for your background, your question, what you're looking for. Now, maybe calling isn't the, maybe today for this example, you want to submit a question and go through the steps. So you actually have a box here that walks you through what type of experts and questions you want to submit if that's the route you want to take. We like to give multiple options, obviously. I'm a little old school. I like to call and talk to somebody if I'm looking for, a sample policy. I'm understanding a change in California law, what that means to my employer. Or just, again, I have a situation that I need some clarity on. Now, they're not legal or insurance experts, they are HR experts. So what they're going to do is they're going to give you all the surrounding information that you need to make the best and most successful decision at your employer. So they're going to use your profile information, such as your location, your size, your industry, all of that for compliance matters. And again, feeding and giving you the right context to make those decisions. So if you decide that you want to submit a question, you can choose what type of expert you want to contact and then go through the steps. Next step, you are going to get asked what type of help you're looking for, an advice, a policy, or a document question. So for this example, I'm just going to choose advice. Maybe something happened at my employer. Maybe Jimmy showed up intoxicated, and I'm trying to understand what I need to do to arm myself to, handle the situation of Jimmy. So the HR experts is a place for you to call and submit questions. So like I said, when you log into your account, if you want to go over to that configure wheel, you can drop and drag. So for those that are following along on their own platform, and maybe you have your own screen up, you would want to take this experts and take it to number 1. And then when you click out, it'll bring you to, again, the experts are at the top of your profile. And that way, again, you can call or submit questions to them. So I'll take you through the steps of submitting a question. Let's say it's human resources. You would then click what type of help. Let's click advice. And again, the boxes are going to prompt you into the next section. So now it's asking for, do I want the question to apply to the state of California? Because that's the way my profile is set up. Or would I like to apply this question if it's maybe you have remote employees in many states? So now we can choose what question, where does it apply to? And then we'll click next. The last piece of this is you have the ability to then put the question in. You can type your question to your HR experts, or you can attach a PDF or an email to the experts. So you can put all of the context and feedback you want to give to the experts. And then you will see in the bottom right corner, I'm just going to type something. It'll allow you to submit your question. So it's that simple. It's that easy to submit a question or call in to the experts. It's one of the easiest and most widely used resources that Mineral has, because again, it's as simple as picking up a phone, or it's as simple as taking these 3 or 4 steps to submit a question. Now, after you've called or submitted, whichever you decide is best for you, you can scroll down on your dashboard and you'll see that you have a My Cases section. My Cases is going to be where every time you contact the experts with whatever question, or maybe you're looking for a law alert, or you're looking for a form or a policy in our platform, because again, our entire Mineral platform does have a HR database for you to search and find information in. So whatever your question is, that information is going to live under My Cases. So as you reach out to the HR experts more and more, you will see those cases will be available for you to reference back to at any time. So every time you submit or call in, you'll get a case number. You'll get, again, a status. Is it a pending or has it been completed? The type of question, maybe you had a hiring or a benefits question, the question itself, and then the date submitted. So whether it's 6 months from now, 2 months from now, 2 years from now, you'll be able to reference back to any of those cases that you have contacted the experts for, as long as you have your Mineral profile with CalNonprofits. You'll be able to look back at those questions and answers from the experts. So I didn't see any other questions come in about the experts, but I really strongly recommend, if you haven't logged into your Mineral profile yet, to log in and see that you have the ability, whenever you need to, contact our dedicated team of HR experts. And they've helped over a million employers since the beginning of Mineral. So wonderful news that we have reached out and we have worked with so many different employers of all states and sizes and industries. So please don't hesitate to contact those experts when you log into your Mineral profile. So the next thing we're going to talk about on your dashboard is scrolling down here. You have some other items. And again, I just scrolled down. It's on your dashboard. You have a featured content section. This is going to be a place where we have a scrolling banner of different law alerts that we are bringing up to you at the forefront of your profile. So when CalNonprofits put your information in, each of you have your own profiles, or maybe you're working on getting set up with your profile. So when you are added to Mineral under CalNonprofits, your location, your size, and your industry are added. Now, we at Mineral then use that data to take what we think is the most relevant content that you, the end user, would like to see. So that's why your scrolling banner might look different than mine, or different from another user. And that's again because we're taking your account information and saying, we think this person would like to see this. So as you start to use Mineral and dive into our many different content forms, law alerts, all of the different resources you have, we're then using what's called mineral intelligence to decide what we think you, the end user, would like to see. So the more that you thumbs up and you thumbs down different articles, or you go into articles, we are noticing all of those trends in your account. So this is, again, just a nice place that has a scrolling banner of different law alerts available. Scrolling down on my dashboard, and again, I haven't gone anywhere else. I'm just going down the dashboard on my mineral profile. You have then a My Favorite section. So I will show you here, let's say California pay data reporting. Maybe this law alert is something I'm interested in. I can click into this for an example. It'll give me all the content related to this law alert. And if I would like to, I can actually add these different, again, law alerts or any of the other policies that we have in here to our favorite section. So that way, when I log in to Mineral, I'm going to go back now. And I'm going to, so let's say I just logged into Mineral. If I scroll down past everything I've already talked about, I will now see I have that law alert in my favorite section. So you have that ability to save things to your favorites. So maybe you're in a role where you're using, a new hire toolkit, or you're using a certain sample policy, or, again, some health and safety information you need to reference very often. Don't be afraid to save those articles, to save those law alerts, save all of that different content to your My Favorites, and then you will have that ability to see them all right on your dashboard. The last item, I'm not going to spend some time here because my to-do list is going to be very long, and that's because I have created many different things in my profile. Yours shouldn't have a lot in here unless you start to utilize the handbook and obviously the learning management system with all of the courses. So as you start to navigate those areas of the platform and build a handbook, which we'll show here in a second, those alerts are going to trigger under your to-do list. So that way we can remind you when there is a policy change or there is a compliance related matter that you need to view and take a look at. So now I'm going to scroll back up on my profile all the way to the top. You'll notice this will get help icon in the bottom right corner. This is where you can go to the help center, which I'll show at the very end of today for more context on everything I've covered, as well as contacting technical support and chatting with them. So this is a place for you can contact our technical support team, as well as dive into our help center, which will be pretty much everything I'll talk about today, but you can go for more resources like FAQs, user guides, and short videos to walk you through anything. The next thing I want to talk about is your little avatar in the top right corner. This little avatar in the top right corner will allow you to see things about your personal profile and your company profile. I like to highlight this first because I really want to make sure everybody's profiles and company profiles are up to date, especially when it comes to your employer count. So making sure that that is accurate. So in order to update your profile, you're just going to click My Profile. Then you're going to click the Actions tab in the top right, and then Edit My Profile. What this is going to allow you to do is if you need to obviously change your name or your email, you can update all information about your profile. And then as you scroll down, you'll see here that we have two newsletters and insights that come out from Mineral. I recommend turning those on, having those boxes checked so you receive those. And then on the bottom of that, you have your law alert section. That way you can physically turn on the different states that you would like to see. If there are law alerts triggered in those states, you will receive emails for them. So as you can see, my profile is set up in California, so I have California checked, but you can have as many turned on as you want. So once you've made edits to your profile, you'll scroll back up to the top, and then you will click Save Settings. Now, the other piece I want to show is your company profile. So again, if you hover over that avatar and then click Company under Company Settings, this is going to look similar to yours, but now it's for your company. This is the way you were set up with CalNonprofits when you were added to Mineral. So you can see here your client and display name is set up. This is a demo account for me, so my name is going to be different. You can put in all the information you want to add or change. Maybe your address changed. So scrolling down, the last thing I really want to highlight is number of employees at this location. This is very important to make sure that this is accurate all of the time, because when you go to use the handbook and you go to use our HR experts by calling or submitting questions, they are going to verify that head count. So if that number is incorrect, they could be providing incorrect information. So make sure, again, this employee count is accurate as often as possible. So once you're done, you will then click on the right-hand side, Save Settings. And that is how to edit your personal profile and your company profile. By clicking CalNonprofits left corner, it actually takes you back to your main dashboard. So now that we've talked and we've talked about how to update our profiles and company profiles, now I'm going to talk about all of the pieces on the navigation toolbar. And I did see a couple questions. Will they only be able to provide HR questions for California laws or any other state? So they are for the whole country. So they are going to be able to provide you information on any state, as well as even down into the counties and some municipal counties. So if you have questions about something, whether it's in a state or a city, or again, your remote locations across the country, you can always call into those experts. Just make sure that you click the all states button instead of just California, so they know that your question is about more than one state. And I know we were in the process of talking about the handbook tool. So I will get to building the handbook, but one thing I did want to bring up, because I did see that question come in, we do not overview or let you upload your handbook into Mineral. You will need to create a new one with Mineral in order for us to be able to manage your policies. But I will tell you, it will take only a few minutes to create a handbook. It's very easy and very simple to navigate. And I do this with employers all the time. So we will get to how easy that is here in just a moment. And then the last question, there is no limit to number of employees or users. So you can add as many of employees you want into your obviously Mineral account, and then everybody on this call or those that don't have access yet would be what we call a client administrator. So you're seeing all the resources I'm showing today, but your employees, those would be the people that you would add to Mineral so that they can take training and they would not see any of the other resources. And along with that, if you're updating your headcount in your profile, there is no limit to how many people that you want to put for the number of employees at this location. So now we're going to talk about the compliance area. So if you hover over HR compliance, everybody should have a compliance dashboard, as well as a place to go search for laws and law alerts. So very similar to in the sense of like Google or Yahoo, this is going to be a great place to come into and search for HR content. So as you can see, by clicking into law alerts, it's going to take me to the most relevant law alerts for my profile. But then on the left-hand side, I can change those categories and filter them. So I can hover over category and make changes. I can hover over the state, and I can hover over employee count. As well as you'll see the entire time you have access to what we call as our smart search toolbar. So if you're looking for something, let's just say COBRA related, I just hit COBRA and enter. Everything coming up for COBRA, for instance, a continuation toolkit, a Q&A, what is COBRA, or a compliance chart. Don't hesitate to use our smart search tool to just look for simple statements or words that you want to pull up in different categories. So I strongly recommend using that. As well as the HR compliance area, you also have an HR assessment and a compliance calendar. Now, the HR assessment is going to allow you to go through a survey of questions in order to assess the level of risk at your company. So I recommend, if you haven't taken this yet, to take this to see if you have all of those compliance tools in place. And if you don't, how Mineral can help you in those areas. So it's a great way to see where you might have some holes and gaps. And then lastly, on this compliance tab, I have a compliance calendar. The calendar allows me to see all of the federal filing deadlines. And then if you personally want to add in your own events for your company, you can add those events by clicking Add Event. And then you can put those into the compliance calendar and then download that. The next tab I want to talk about is handbooks. And I want to spend a little bit of time here because this is a very important section. It is very easy to use and navigate, but I want to make sure everybody walks away with a lot of understanding, the simplicity behind it, and feeling very empowered to go build one yourself. So hovering over company policies, I'm just going to click handbooks. And as you can see here, I've created one already. This is something I created 160 plus days ago. And as you can see, in that time period, I have a bunch of policy flags, which means policies have changed. So it just goes to show, if you don't have a current handbook that you are updating on a regular basis, I should say, when those policies at the federal and state level are changing, you could easily be out of compliance, especially in a state like a California or a New York or a Massachusetts. Those states have more policy adjustments and changes made on average. So just looking at this handbook from, again, 5 months ago, we can open up that policy flag and see right away we have 10 federal policy changes. And then in the state of California, we have 7 policy flags just for state policies. So again, goes to show that possibly one a month or more is happening in this handbook that I'm using as an example. So really important, if you don't have a current handbook, to dive into Mineral and create one. And I'm going to walk through how to do that. So when you're in this section, you're just going to go over to Create New Handbook. So I'm going to click Create New Handbook. So I did just get a question, does the handbook have travel policies or at least guide? This may be a question you want to ask the HR experts. I'm not quite sure what you mean by travel policies, unless you mean for employees at the employer when it comes to travel. But when I get into the table of contents, this is a good, that would be a good example to look through and see all of the policies and if they would be applicable to the travel, if you're looking for something in that arena. So we'll talk about all the different policy types and policies in the handbook once we get to that next step. But the first thing we need to do is we need to put in the information about the handbook. So if I am, a company or an employer and I'm building a handbook, then I'm going to lay out the verbiage that I want seen for my employers, or excuse my employees. So the handbook name, maybe this is Handbook 2024. I know, very creative. Now, this is a handbook for a federal and one state. I am not a salesperson, but we do have other products that would allow you to build handbooks for multiple states. There is a cost associated with that. But I do want to make sure people know that if that's something you're looking for, you can have more information on that, and Ling and her team can get you that. So we've named the handbook. The company name is going to automatically pull over based on how you were set up with your Mineral profile, but you can change that. You can upload a company logo. And then the last boxes here, these 6 boxes, are important because, again, this is how the terminology is pulled into your handbook. Our goal when we created this handbook tool was to have you, the end user, the employer, having to do the least amount of work. So we're going to take these terms that you're putting in these boxes and we're going to pull them into all of the policies in your handbook. So that way you don't have to sit there and type out our employees, or the head of the company. We're going to pre-fill all of those policies with that information. So how to refer to your company. Maybe we are called an agency for this example. And then how do you refer to your employees? We're going to call them team members for this example. Maybe for today, I am the head of the company and I'm Holly Rouse and my title is the CEO. So as you're creating your handbook, you're going to fill these out for your company the way you would want your employees to see this, this terminology. Maybe your primary contact is a single individual. Maybe it's human resources department. I'm just going to do managers as the last box, or how to refer to your managers. And below each box, it'll kind of say, so whenever you get to these double bracketed terms, this word will pull in. So you'll see that when you go to preview all of your policies, and I will again show you what that looks like. So now that we've filled that information out, the last piece here is the state that we want to build the handbook for. I'm going to choose California because that's the way my account is set up, and I'm going to click Add State. And then it automatically knows that I have one employee. Now, let's say that number is incorrect and I actually have 10. It's still going to let me proceed with 10, but it is going to flag me and let me know that number is different from the number in my account. So this is why having that accurate head count in your company profile is so important, because the way that the federal and state policies pull are going to be based on size. So be accurate here. I'm just going to choose one for my example. Now on the bottom right, it's going to ask that I keep this blue box checked to subscribe to email alerts so that I can be notified of policy changes. Keep that on. And then the last piece here before I create a handbook is click Save and Review Policies, this little bluish green button. And in 2 to 3 seconds, I am in my table of contents for my currently compliant handbook for my federal and state of California for one employee as of February 13th, 2024. That's how simple, that's how easy it is. I now have a completely compliant handbook, and I, at this point, could go over to my Actions tab and I could download it to Word or PDF. Now, I did just see some questions come through. First one was, can you add your own company policies? And yes, you can. Those are called custom policies. If you want to add in your own policies, you can go to this Actions tab and you can link, which is pretty much allowing you to create any of your own policies. So by clicking that, I can click New Custom Policy, and I can label it, give it its name and policy language, and then I can have it auto included in my handbook. So I did just see this question, can we have multiple handbooks for different employee types, union versus non-union or seasoned versus permanent employees? So this is a really good question that I would recommend reaching out to the HR experts, because there are rules and parameters around handbooks where you won't want to have too many different handbooks with differing states and differing sizes. So I would recommend, based on your unique situation, to use that question as an example with the experts, and they're going to be able to advise you on how many handbooks you could create based on the job type and the size. But really good question. Now that I'm in the table of contents, it's very easy to open up those different categories and see what the names and the language are for every policy. So I know earlier we had the travel guide. So as you start to open these up, you'll see in all these different areas, there are many different policy types. I'm not quite sure by looking here if there is a travel guide, but let's just search. This is a good example. So I typed in travel at the top, and it looks like there is one for travel expenses and travel time pay. So I'm not quite sure if that was the intended policy somebody was looking for in the questions earlier, but I was using that as an example if you were looking for something specific. So going back into my handbook. So as I start to open up these different categories, you'll see they all have different policy types. Red asterisks are required. Blue circles are optional. and black check marks are best practices. What that means is anything that's a red asterisk, we strongly recommend making no adjustments or changes to, because those are written federally and by state in order to be compliant in your handbook. But that said, it doesn't mean that you can't go in and read about it. Let's say you have, and this is actually a brand new policy that came in not long ago, accommodations for pregnant employees. That was recently moved out of our state sections of handbooks into the federal section. So you can read about any of the policies if you want to dive in. They all have a type, a description, and then language. And then that information we put in on that settings page now pulls all those bracketed terms. So when you go to export this handbook, you can actually see it pre-fills out all of those items for you. So again, you don't have to physically type out all of the policies. You are doing the minimal amount of work in a handbook that you can. Now, there are a couple items that you will need to fill out for policies that we don't know enough about you as an employer. A good example of that is going to be mission statement. If I click into the mission statement, I'll see that that one is blank. And that's because we can't write a mission statement for you. That's where you would want to copy and paste or type in your own and save it. Or, for example, let's say this may not be the best example, but let's say you don't have a mission statement or you don't want to share that. On every policy on the right-hand side, we have a green toggle, and it allows you to hide policies. That being said, when you go to export the handbook to Word or PDF, those policies will not show in the handbook. Now, you can turn them on or off whenever you need to, and then obviously go into the policies like I just showed to read about them or make edits if you need to add. I did just get another question. Can you upload a company policy that is already written, or does it have to be written? So when you get to that custom policy portion, you can copy and paste over that writing into that section. So you should be able to copy and paste, or again, you would have to type it out as there's no way to physically upload anything into the handbook. We've created a handbook tool that allows you, whether a small or medium or large size employer, to have as many policies that you would deem fit in your handbook. So if you're on a smaller employer and you're thinking some of these policies just may not apply to me, like I said, you can turn those on or off. So you have that ability to go through these different categories and lay out the way you want your handbook to look, hide policies, add in custom policies, anywhere you need to. When you're all done with your handbook, you can take this Actions tab and you can download it to Word or PDF. You can also at any point in time go back to the handbook settings. What's really nice about that is, let's say your company name changed or your logo changed, or you want to change some of this terminology. You can come back and make any edits to this whenever you need to. And then your handbook, when you're done, is going to live in your handbook library. You'll see I have the one I created 168 days ago with a bunch of outstanding flags. But the nice thing is the one I created today has no outstanding flags, because every single policy that went through any change up until this point is now updated in that handbook. So all of those policy flags that I showed you from earlier are now up to date in the current one. So that's why I always tell clients, I'm saying, go in, create a handbook in Mineral. And then if those policy flags come up, you'll go into them and you can accept or dismiss. So I did just get a question. Yes, great question. You will, it's okay. By putting the number of employees that you have, the system will know what laws you need required for the amount of employees. Exactly. So based on the federal and state sections and your size, the laws will be adjusted and updated based on that. Because obviously an employer that has 100 people versus an employer that has 10, the laws are differentiating, especially in the state section. So making sure that that is accurate is very, very important to make sure the appropriate laws are pulled into your handbook. Another really good question just came in. Do independent contractors count as the number of employees a company has, or just full-time, part-time, and seasonal? This is a really good question for our HR advisors. the experts that you can call or submit to. Unfortunately, I am not HR certified to answer that question, but that is a wonderful example that when you're done with this call today, to use your profile to call or submit that exact question to the HR experts on your dashboard. Like I said, you are done. This handbook is completed. It lives in your library. As of the day you updated it, everything previously has been updated, no outstanding policies today. And then I'll get those emails as I'm being let known that the policy does need to be adjusted. And just so everybody knows, nobody on this call, no client is ever writing policies. You're not writing legal policies and you're not making changes. We do that for you. But what that flag does is it tells you that you need to go in and acknowledge those changes. So let's, for instance, open up what a policy flag would look like. It says I have two in my old handbook. One of them is under the non-solicitation and non-distribution policy, which is a required policy. So if I click on the right-hand side policy alert, it will give me all of the information about that alert. It'll tell me that it came in last year in September. It'll tell me the new policy was revised pursuant to a decision. It'll give all the information. It'll also let me know the previous changes before that. And then I can see here, updated language, and then the previous language below. Now, for those, again, that aren't legal and HR experts, and we don't understand fully what the change is, we can view those differences side by clicking View Text Differential. And now we can see in green all of the updated policy language to that policy compared to the previous. All you have to do is accept or dismiss the changes. If you want to accept it or dismiss it, I'm going to accept it, the alert, to override the previous written policy. And now that policy alert is gone and that is up to date in my handbook. So that's why I recommend, as those alerts come in, to log into your account and make those acknowledgement changes so that you don't have it looking like I do, where I didn't log in for 5 months and now I have a bunch of these outstanding flags. So I got another question. Do employees have access to Mineral to view the handbook or ask questions? They do not. Employees are only able to see, which I'm going to show next, is the training platform and the courses that they've been assigned. So there are two types of roles when you're looking at a client account. Again, those on this call today that are seeing all of the wonderful Mineral resources, you're what's called a client administrator. Now, if you want to add your employees in to Mineral, you can do that. They will only be able to take training and access their certificates, but they won't see anything else in the platform. But really good question. And I recommend, if you haven't yet, to think about adding your employees in so that they can have a scheduled training program, and you can have the ability to assign and track the training for all of your employees and managers. So I did just get another question, and then we'll move on from the handbook. It says, if you change the policy as you get the alert, are you printing and giving new ones to the employees each time? So this is a really interesting question, right? As policies are changing, how often do you have to notify employees? We actually had this come out in one of our newsletters from our HR advisors not long ago. And this one does kind of differ. If you have a policy, they say, that's impacting employees, they will at times recommend that you have an acknowledgement from those employees of those policy changes. But I don't see that happening on a very regular basis, because obviously policies change very often, as we just saw here in this example. So for the policies that you're not quite sure if I do need to re-notify or if I need to have new acknowledgement, again, that's why you have those HR experts. They live and breathe in the Mineral platform, and they're going to be able to notify you, yes, this is something that you need to redistribute to employees, or no, this is not something that you need to let employees know that has changed. As long as it's in a handbook that you're keeping, again, compliant and up to date, they're going to be able to give you that kind of yes or no clarity around a policy. But we do have within our compliance area, if I just go back to I clicked my CalNonprofits logo and it just took me back to my home screen. We do have if I can spell appropriately, an acknowledgement form here. I just typed in acknowledgement, and you have an employee handbook acknowledge when distributing an employee handbook. So we do have that form available. If you do need to have employees re-sign something, I just like to show that that's there in the kind of the smart search for our compliance database. I'm going to click the logo again, so that way you can see this is where you start. And the next thing we're going to talk about is safety and training. So under the safety tab, a lot of those content library courses are pulled entirely into our course catalog, but we do like to break it out because we do have a lot of different safety products. One of the things you all have access to are OSHA logs and some safety courses. And then all of those courses are going to be available under the course catalog and training. So I'm going to go ahead and click course catalog. You'll see right here that the ability to kind of log in and all the courses that you can take and assign. And really what this is you have a dedicated learning management system. So for those of you that are paying for something externally or using something different, you now have it all with Mineral. So you can log in and you personally can take trainings, or what we see a lot of employers use this for is to assign trainings. And it sounds like from this call, we have people with, seasonal employees and independent contractors, and then obviously different departments within a company. And every department and every person might be taking different trainings, or they need different qualifications for their role or job. So you can do that here. You can dive into any of these areas. But what we see people use this for is assigning training tracks. So when you're under this little actions tab, you click that and you can click create new track. And just like it sounds, what I'm doing is I'm taking people and trainings and I'm creating that track so I can monitor that and track the progress of those individuals. So the track name for this example, we're just going to call this a new hire manager training, maybe 2024. Now be specific in your track name because you will want to know, again, what you're referencing to. Completion date is going to automatically choose in the system 6 months from today, the day you're creating it, but you can change that. So let's say I want this done by the 1st of June, just for the example. And then you'll see now the course catalog is dropped in on the left-hand side, bottom, and you can go through any of those different categories and pull those courses into the track. So since this is called a new hire manager track, let's go ahead into, excuse me, we have a lot of notifications pop up, professional development, and then maybe some workplace skills, that subset of courses. So maybe preparing for difficult conversations would be a good new hire manager course. And then powerful presentations. We'll use those two as the example. As you can see here, by clicking that green plus sign, it pulls the course into the track. You have no limit to how many courses you want to put in a track. So you could have one course assigned to the whole company. And we see that happen a lot with, for instance, workplace harassment training. The whole company has to take it, or managers or employees need to take it. Or you could have, 50 courses assigned to one individual. So you can have your track set up however you want. It's really for you at your company to kind of prioritize and the look and flow of how your training is laid out for your employees. So I'm just going to click these two trainings for the example, and then I'm going to press continue. Then it's going to pull up the employees. So if you haven't yet uploaded your employees into your account, it's not a problem. I'll show you at the very end of today how to do that under the Help Center. It'll walk you through how to upload an Excel spreadsheet of your employees. And once they're in the system, they will show here, and then you can click who you want to assign the trainings to. So I'm just going to click just my only name that's in here because this is my fake account. And then I'm going to click continue. And then the last piece of this as it's loading is the welcome and reminders that go out. So I did just get a really good question. And there was one previously I will get to. It was about the handbook. So we'll answer that at the end. Will it notify you when someone is due to take training such as sexual harassment? It won't notify you. The system isn't smart enough to know that, for instance, you have to take this training based on your state. But I will talk about a few things that will help kind of guide you to know what you need to take. Now, I will say this, if you've been using Mineral and you've taken sexual harassment training, or you've had your whole company take it, then the next year you have all of that set up to know to send it out. Now the system won't do it for you. You'll still have to reset it up or just re-acknowledge the training. The system won't do it for you, but it's very easy to set up and do. So when you get to this point on the training track, you'll notice you have reminders that can go out, as well as a welcome note. Now, this is going to be, again, to those individuals that have gotten training. So you're going to be able to see what that note is going to look like. So we can actually open that little, I want to show how I did that by clicking that little writing tool under the Actions tab. It's going to allow me to not only view what the note looks like, the welcome note, but it also allows me to add in my own statement or sentence. So if this is a new hire track, maybe I want to say to everybody, welcome to the team. And then I can preview the entire email. It's going to go to that person's email. It's going to always come from a no reply at trustmineral.com. So make sure you don't have your spam and junk filtered for that. And then it'll say your scheduled training. It'll have the person's name. It'll have your statement if you've added something in, you don't have to. And then it'll actually give them instructions on accessing the courses. So it'll remind them of their username, and then it'll give them their due date, the trainings that they need to take, and then information on how to obtain their certificate when they're done. So that's what it would look like when it goes out to an employee or whoever you're assigning that training to. Once you're done with that, you're then going to get out of that box and you're going to click Save Track. And then just like that, you now have a new training track you created. It's going to live under your training dashboard. So I'm in training, I'm under my dashboard, and now I can see as I start to create tracks, I have them titled. I can see all the users under that track. I can see the completion date for it, and then I can start to monitor the progress of those individuals. So as they start to start it, it'll show in progress. If they've completed, it'll show completed. If they've gone past the due date, it'll show delinquent. And then you have some other items here on the training track itself to allow you to adjust and change the settings, or maybe something was created and you need to delete it. You can do that here. So that's going to be what a training track looks like. And then under the Actions tab, you have a lot more reporting capabilities that you can dive into as well. So don't hesitate to utilize that Actions. Now, I do want to move on because we don't have a lot of time left, but I want to highlight this course selection guidance button. This is next to the Actions tab. And really what this is that maybe you're new to your company, or like I said, you're in a state or a industry where you're not quite sure what compliance mandates you need to be obtaining, and making sure that your employees are doing those things. By clicking request a meeting here, you can actually request a meeting with one of our Learn training experts, and they can help you build a formal training program based on all of your information. Again, maybe you're located in multiple states. And they're going to be able, exactly like the question I just got, these people that you're going to meet with, these experts, they're going to be able to give you what's required in compliance mandates based on states, as well as even down to the job duties, as well as industry specific compliance mandates. So don't hesitate to request a meeting with one of them if you're a little bit newer and not quite sure where to get started with a training program. But I strongly recommend for those that haven't logged in or haven't taken advantage of this, utilize all of these wonderful courses that you have. Again, you're getting this by being a member with CalNonprofits. This is a huge asset, a huge resource at no cost for you. So I really recommend using it if you haven't yet. So we're going to kind of talk the last things quickly. You have an HR tools section. And just like it sounds, these are it's just a page of awesome tools that you have available to you. Job description builder. You can have the ability to reach out to CalNonprofits and they can help you with wrap and pop docs. You have a salary comparison tool where you can go in and find jobs by location and kind of see what is that cost of that job based on where they're at, their expertise. So that's a wonderful tool. And then you have minimum wage map and different calculators. You have a template section, which is very similar to the compliance area. It allows you to search for forms, sample policies, letters, and toolkits by category. So for instance, if I click toolkit, it's going to look really similar to the compliance area, and you can search by category on the left-hand side, as well as even just typing items in our smart search. The last piece here is the resources area. If you haven't had a chance, I recommend looking at our Q&A section here. This allows you to view all those questions and answers coming from employers and our HR experts. So the question about, acknowledging handbook signatures, that was a question, like I said, we've had before. So what we've done is we take all of those, frequently asked employer questions, we make them anonymous, and then we put them in here and show what the experts are advising of. So you can see right away some of the questions that pulled up. What's the difference between furlough and a layoff? An employee says their manager told them to lose their accent if they ever want to be promoted. Could this be considered discrimination? Like, you will see, I mean, the craziest questions, and it's just unbelievable the things employers are going through. I've seen questions, can I stop my employee from dyeing their hair aqua? Talking about food allergies, all the way down to, ACA reporting, I-9 questions. So I recommend coming in here. It's very interesting to see what types of questions employers are asking and situations they're going through, and you can view them. Under the resources section as well, you can view more videos and webinars that we constantly offer for training and guide and best practices. So I recommend digging into the resource category. The last thing I wanted to highlight, so that way everybody knows how to get to certain places if they need help later on. The Help Center is going to be a great place to go if you want to get more information or you simply forgot how to navigate to a spot. So let's say you forgot how to create a handbook. So you'd click into the Help Center. I just want to make sure my screen is still sharing. Yep. So you click into the Help Center, and then you'll see that you can search right away for something, or all of the categories of the platform are broken out. So right here, company policies and smart handbooks, that's where you're going to click. And then you can see all of these videos, FAQs, user guides are in this section. So right here, we can watch a video to create a smart handbook. This video is 1 minute and 28 seconds long, and it'll take you through the steps of what I did today, just a little bit faster, and just focusing on how to create that handbook. So I recommend the Help Center if you ever need to learn more or just get a quick refresher on something in the platform that we viewed today, or we didn't have enough time to touch on that you want more information on. Take advantage of this area. It's a really nice guide for you. And then I did want to finally touch on in the Help Center for those looking to upload their employees. So if you're interested in adding your employees to offer them training, what you can do here is when you're in the Help Center, you're going to go down to Company Settings and System Administration. Under this area, again, plenty of FAQs, user guides on how to overview and view things, but this is going to have the nice video for you to be able to see here. Import several users at one time. That would be you if you want to do a bulk upload. Add a user, just a single user, you can do that. resend welcome emails, update employee count, which is what I showed everybody how to do today. But if you forget, that's in here, or update your information. All of that is available. So I really recommend, if you need a refresher on anything or something we haven't touched on, that Help Center is going to be a great place to come. And I know we're getting close on time, but I just wanted to answer one last question. How often do you go in to confirm updates? Is there a clear flag when you log on telling you the handbook changes? Yes, there is. So you'll first get an email letting you know what the policy is in the email. It'll have the name of the policy and it'll give you a description of some of the changes. And then it will tell you to log in. When you log into the handbook, it'll then have that outstanding policy flag. You'll click in there and then it'll have, if it's just that one, it'll have that one next to that policy and you'll click into the one and then click accept or dismiss. It's very straightforward to be able to clear that flag and know what you're accepting or dismissing. Now, I will say, if you have questions about a policy change, impacting your employees, or should I accept or dismiss this? If you have those types of questions in a handbook, again, great time to pick up the phone and call or submit a question to the HR experts. That's why they're there. So please take advantage of them, along with all of the other wonderful resources that you have the ability to use, again, by being a member of CalNonprofits, and they're providing this at no cost to all of you. So just want to say a big thank you to Ling and her team and everybody at CalNonprofits for letting me be here today and show all the mineral resources. And it looks like one last question, sorry. Can the platform suggest what courses are required by state based on employee job duties? So the platform isn't going to do it itself. I would suggest going into that consult an expert in the training program portion and having them give you that information based on your exact situation. They can walk you through job duty specific and all the compliance mandates around your size, your state, and industry, all of that.
Great. Thank you so much, Holly, for the very informative presentation. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I will send an email to follow up with the recording and our information. Thank you so much for spending the time. Thanks again, Holly, for the wonderful presentation. I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you
Bye,
all so much.
everyone.